All right, what's up? Good morning, PT on Ice Daily Show. Dr. Jeff Moore here, currently serving as the CEO of ICE, lead faculty for cervical and lower spine divisions. My apologies if the Facebook video is a bit blurry. I'm up in Upper Michigan. It's kind of an area of low signal and poor Wi-Fi. So if you want to jump on Instagram, probably has better overall video quality. But nonetheless, we are here, team. Good to see everybody on a Monday morning. Thanks for questions for Q&A Monday. Good ones, of course, some challenging ones coming in, but we'll do our best. So happy Monday. Getting right off to it. A lot of our online courses have fired up. Sarah Heron's Out of Network step-by-step course is coming up here in what, just about 2 weeks. So those folks out there who are thinking about launching a cash-based or out of network practice, that is going to be available here in a couple of weeks. I want to say she has single-digit spots available, so if you want to jump in, jump in. And a whole host of other online courses. I know a lot of you are stuck at home. Unfortunately, our live courses are not accessible for the next few weeks. And so that is what it is. And get after what you can and mend those nets, if you will, while we've got some downtime. So jumping into our Q&A, question number one was, how do you decide what research is relevant to read? I love that question. Get it all the time at courses. You know, there's so much coming at us. How do you figure out what's important to read, what you're going to read, what you're going to incorporate into your reasoning and practice? Now, I have a two-step process I've been following for years, right? And in the first part of it is called selective trending. Selective trending, right? So I'm really careful on who I follow on social media so that my feeds don't get really noisy. Right, I really only follow people that have been consistent over time, whose content I like, that I think is thoughtful, that I think is balanced. And that way, at the end of each day, I can peruse my social media and I can see what these different individuals whose voices I trust to some level, what they're all talking about. Not just one of them, but different groups from different ways of thinking. What are the consistencies? If an article came out that everyone's talking about across these different philosophical groups and folks who come at it from a different point of view, I know it's something I've got to consider reading. Once I access the difference, then I drop it into an inner circle, right? So with ICE, we're of course connected behind the scenes. I can drop that article into that inner circle, right, and get a pulse for it there, right? And that's a spot where someone like Eric Jaconis can jump in and say, hey, Jeff, I know the sample size was really good, but if you look at the research design, we've got to be careful on, is that article really saying what we think it's saying, right? Okay, that's a good piece of literature, but a newer one came out. We've got to consider this instead. That really allows us to have an intimate discussion on what is important, what is valuable, what should be consumed. And so it's really the combination of those two things. Not having an overly busy feed from your social media, from all your different platforms, and including people that have different points of view, so you can see what pieces of information probably need to be looked at, and then bringing that into your closer inner circle, whether it's your clinic or your journal club, into your school, right? And having a few different voices really dive in and have a look at it and see whether or not it's got value. The combination of those two is what really helps me stay focused and, more importantly, not get overwhelmed. Because there's like so much out there. Like, that's the issue, is can you take this huge amount of information and can you dispel it into knowing what you can and should have a deeper look at? So that's the answer there. The number one mistake is that people have way too aggressive of social media trackings, right? Way too many people on their feeds, a lot of who their opinion hasn't been vetted. And so it's just busy. It's really hard to actually that because there's so much noise. You can't quickly look down and say, ooh, that one resource is really being looked at from a lot of folks I respect. It's hard to be able to do that when there's that much volume. So I would encourage everyone, go through your social media and do some trimming. Trim the hedges, right? Get rid of a lot of folks who you're just not valuing their content, or over time they haven't put out quality work, so that at day's end, it's a bit cleaner and easier to utilize. Then you bring it into your inner circle, and then you make decisions on what you're going to dive deep on. So great question. I hope that answer makes some sense. Number two, love this one. Number two, what do you say to people who think that CrossFit is dangerous? Okay, the first thing I don't do, I know it's very tempting to like just jump down that person and say, well, that's ridiculous. Look at the statistics. It doesn't shake out like that at all. I don't recommend that approach. Like that kind of like a digging in emotional response is not going to drive a lot of really good, thoughtful conversation. I think the answer for me anyhow is usually, well, how much do you understand about the philosophy? How much do you understand the discipline? Because I can see how I look that way, but give me some insight into what your level of depth is here. Because I think the biggest reason that people think that CrossFit is dangerous is that they don't realize that some of the things that are being done at high intensity are also being done at very sub-max loads. So I can't blame them for thinking it's dangerous. If they see you doing Fran and you're just hammering thrusters, it looks a little crazy. What that person might be totally unaware of is that the load that you have on that bar is way sub-max. So if that's their misconception, which I find in the vast majority of people is, I help explain to them that, look, we intentionally move things fast in CrossFit and expect some movement variance to challenge, right, or expose our systems to a huge movement library. Because life is full of imperfect movement. So what we really want to be ready for is imperfect movement. I want to catch, right, that snatch, or I want to push that overhead press in a wide variety of ways. So that when my daughter jumps off the steps and wants me to catch her over to the side and above my head, my body has been exposed to that really odd spot of catching her at sub-max loads. So I want to protect myself I want to armor myself for daily life by exposing myself to a huge movement library at loads that don't cause injury, because that's what life is full of. Now, what that person often doesn't realize is once we get to higher percentages, once we get to 80%, 90%, one rep max, things tighten up, don't they? Now straight lines become strong lines. Now technique is everything. Now space is the enemy. Now we get discipline. Now the work to rest ratio is 1-4. Like, they don't see those things because they're not as exciting to post on Instagram, right? So they're not coming across people doing a couple reps with minutes in between of highly disciplined form because load is entering max territory. So often it's just that understanding. I spend time showing them, and oftentimes like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like, yeah, we don't catch things in daily life in perfect position, elbows locked out, close to the ears, fully stable. In daily life, imperfect stimuli are the norm. So preparing ourselves chronically to absorb those is what protects us from injury in actual real world. When we're going for max efforts, everything changes. So just giving them that insight oftentimes makes them walk away shaking their head like, oh, I totally get that. Like, I never thought about it that way. Now, if they have thought about it that way, then we can start to have a deeper conversation. If they're farther along the path of understanding the philosophy and how it all goes down, and now I think it is time to talk with them about the fact that CrossFit isn't dangerous. Being unfit is dangerous. It was Brett Contreras, right, who said lifting weights is not dangerous, right? Try being weak, right? Being weak is dangerous. I love that. In the times we're in right now, nothing could probably be more appropriate to discuss that it is being unfit that is dangerous. I mean, this virus scenario that we're dealing with, we know the folks who we've got to protect from it, right? Respiratory conditions, cardiovascular issues, diabetes, obesity. These are the folks that are succumbing, unfortunately, to this significant health issue and crisis that we have going on around the country. Being fit is a life or death situation. It's a heavy thing to say, but I think we have to acknowledge it. And that's why I say to these folks, like, I am not afraid of someone's shoulder being a bit sore. I'm afraid of them not being robust enough so that when challenges come upon their system, they succumb. It's a heavy thing, and I believe it in the bottom of my heart. Going further, I don't mind just kind of showing the gravity of that. Like, it is being unfit that is legitimately dangerous. I don't think the other stuff is dangerous. Like, I appreciate musculoskeletal pain. Right? Who said that recently on social media? I can't remember who said it, but gosh, I loved it. When they said, sure, you could train without injury, I just would never recommend it. What a great, like, quote that causes pause and gives you some real thought. Like, You could train without injury. I would just never be doing it. The reason being, if you're doing it, you know that you're never in the speed wall. You know you're never pushing your capacity. You really have no idea where your capacity is. If you're never sore or never experiencing musculoskeletal discomfort, you are not on that edge. You're not finding your boundaries, which means you're really not growing very much. I don't mind if my shoulder hurts after doing butterfly pull-ups because it means I either have to tweak my form or I have to get stronger with strict bursts. It guides me. I don't mind that my hurt after high volume double unders. It lets me know where my ceiling is. It lets me know I've got to prep those tissues, do some foam rolling, do some better active. Stop walking into the gym and rocking double unders or max plyos. This musculoskeletal discomfort guides my ability to push my fitness. And I'm thankful for it, right? I can wait a week or two for my shoulder to calm down. I can work on my calves a bit, right? Change my activity and stimuli, challenge metabolic conditioning in a different way, and then get back to loading my calves and feel better. I can manage around musculoskeletal pain, right? And it serves as a really nice guide into how far and how fast I can push my fitness, because fitness is life and death. And I want to know how far I can get myself away from sickness by pushing my fitness. And musculoskeletal pain is a huge guide for that. So I think to answer the question, those different conversations are clutch. Number one, do you have any understanding at all of what the discipline's actually all about? Let me explain why imperfect movement at submax load has a lot of value. And let me explain that when we go towards max loads, things understand that it is being unfit that makes you vulnerable, not having musculoskeletal pain, right? And so pushing that fitness and using musculoskeletal pain to guide that journey can actually be quite a valuable process. So I think those are wonderful conversations that come up when somebody brings up the question of CrossFit's dangerous, everybody should stop doing it. So hopefully get some value there. Another great question, thanks for this one. And folks, gonna go a little bit longer, got some time on my hands. By all means, jump in and out as able. How long did it take post-grad school for you to feel like you were in the flow of being a PT? It's a great question, because I think so many new grads get out and we have a lot of burnout early in our profession. I think a lot of it is people just don't feel like maybe they expect to feel, right? And experience some of those trials and early on. So I would really say, Sarah, that it takes a while, but I think the reason it takes a while is maybe not what you expect, because I don't think you necessarily provide a ton more value as the years go on as a PT, but I think you realize how much value you've been providing all along. And when you realize you're providing that kind of value, that's what puts you into that flow state where you feel like you're really doing what you're meant to do. So I think it's more a realization of what you've been providing, because in the beginning, you tend to think that it's all about eliminating your patient's pain. That's what it's all about, right? Getting rid of their pain 100%. If you don't do that, you fail. As the years go on, you realize the massive value that you are delivering when you increase someone's movement library, when you decrease their fear of movement, when you troubleshoot their programming, when you just keep them motivated, when you keep them away from medicalization. You begin to realize as you watch cases play out what a tremendously valuable role you have and that the value you deliver every day. And so I think that as you begin to realize that, which honestly can take a year, depending upon who you have mentoring, who you have helping you reflect upon the value you're bringing, I think those are huge variables. But I think the reason that it takes a bit to fall into the flow state is not because of what you're offering, but your awareness of what you're offering. Sarah, give that some reflection and be tuned to that as much as possible, because the earlier you realize that, the earlier you encounter that flow state. Wonderful question though, because I know so many folks who experience that feeling of burnout, or am I really doing anything worthwhile early on? And I hope that we're all reflecting of all the multi-area ways that we're bringing value. So good question, Sarah. Okay, and finally, many of you asking the question, do I feel that physical therapy clinics should remain open in lieu of the coronavirus situation that's going around here nationally and globally? Well, it's a tough question. It's a tough question I think everybody would love not to have to answer. But unfortunately, we're at a spot where we're all troubleshooting this together, right? We're all trying to reason through it. And I don't think putting your head in the sand is going to be a strategy that works very well for the collective. We've got to share opinions. We've got to try to stay unemotional but wise, and we've got to leverage each other. So all I can do is share my thoughts that are with the qualification of the fact that I am no more an infectious disease expert than you are, but certainly happy to share kind of my current thoughts on where we are. And maybe you can take that into your reasoning process. I love some thoughts back from you. All we can do is try to work through this together. So I think the first thing we've got to talk about is where should we look for the answer? And that answer is towards the CDC and state authorities, right? Those are the experts. I think a lot of are turning towards the APTA and hoping for really definitive guidance. But the thing is, that's not the APTA's wheelhouse. I mean, that's not, infectious disease is not any more their expertise as it is ours. So they're going to defer to the same sources. Now, they can certainly help try and give interpretations too and give guidance and work through it with us. And I think they've done a really good job of that. Like, I mean, every day or two, if you're following their emails, they are releasing their updates, right? And in the best guidance they can in trying to interpret the recommendations along with us. Dr. Sharon Dunn had a really nice letter there following up on one of those announcements, kind of trying to give some deeper thoughts and perspective. And honestly, folks, that's what they can do. And they're trying to share that. I think largely what we're seeing is that healthcare services, including physical therapy, have fallen under essential services in the majority of places, federally and at the state level. And I don't think are included in mandatory shutdowns, right? Like, I don't think it's mandatory that the physical therapy clinics close, like it is for gyms, restaurants, movie theaters, things of that nature. And so it does leave us then with a choice. And that's where it gets tough. In some ways, it's almost unfortunate that it's gray, because leaving us with that choice is challenging. Right? What I would say is, I think that all physical therapy services are essential, right? A 30,000-foot view in the greater medical system. I don't think that all physical therapy, every single type of physical therapy intervention is essential in the immediate situation, right? As mentioned before, I cannot tell you how much I believe that what we are doing is critical. I think we might be the critical piece to decrease vulnerability for when this happens again, right? Because we stand in that beautiful spot of being able to understand the medical system, but also being able to understand the field or the fitness world, right? We can read and discuss your MRI report. We can also analyze and challenge your power clean and squat. And we can take these two together and be that individual connecting these worlds. And I can't think of a more valuable person, right, or role moving forward. But I do believe that we can put some of that on hold for a month or two while our hospital resources are acutely strained, right? And so I do think we've got to think of what does need to be there and what doesn't need to be there. So we've got to use professional judgment. And I know, again, that's what the APTA was getting harped on, right, for kind of falling back on that. But I think it's an honest answer of that is what we're left with. We've got to use our collective professional judgment to decide what services need to be offered from our field, what can hold back, pause, or morph a bit in the short term. What I don't think is okay is simply saying, hey, look, we're under essential services, right? So we're going to continue business as usual. I don't think that's appropriate. Making blanket statements in hard times that allow you to do nothing is not embracing professional judgment. That I feel comfortable saying, right? And I think it's wrong. Like, I don't think correcting somebody's knee position or doing patellofemoral mobilizations to decrease 3 to 4 out of 10 anterior knee squatting is essential service during a time of national and global emergency. Now, don't mishear me. I think that working with that individual to get them more aware or willing or comfortable to squat so that we can load that squat, so the human gets stronger, so the human gets fitter, so they get further away from sickness. When it comes again, they are armed. I can't tell you how important I believe that is. I don't think it's necessary in the next couple of weeks. At least the risk-benefit ratio is questionable. So we've got decisions, right? We've got to look back and say what is and what isn't essential. For sure, anybody working in a role that is directly involved with decreasing the burden on our hospital system has got to be essential. Anybody working to get people out of the hospital, to get them independent so they can get home, make space in that hospital, make beds available. People working obviously with anybody in the hospital, working on mobility, working on transferring, right? People who are here's a great one. There's so many, right? But I have so many friends here nearby in Wisconsin, I'm over in Rochester, who have been working in the emergency department for years, right? In triaging pain presentations. Does this need to be handled here, or can we manage this and follow up with this person and keep it out of the system? Obviously, I mean, there's so many areas where we can use our skills, decrease burden on resources that are severely strained and need to keep going. But if we aren't in one of those positions, I do think the best thing that we can do to flatten the curve is minimize face-to-face visits. How do we do it? Number one, by really good communication, talking with all of our patients, right? Hey, if you were unable to come in for a few weeks, would you find yourself, do you think, you don't need to know for sure, but would you think you'd find yourself in a position where you would need to utilize hospital resources? If that answer is, no, man, I can make it a few weeks, that's no biggie, I think we let them do that right now. If the answer is, I don't know, maybe I would, I think the follow-up is there somebody at home that we can show these techniques to that might enable you to stay out of both the hospital and our public environment, right? If yes, let's try and do that. Again, making our best effort through communication and creativity to think about, can we keep the people out of harm's way and out of a system that has strained resources? Okay. Good communication on social media, websites, and email. Everybody that you interact with should know how to get a hold of you now. So if they are on the edge of making one of these decisions, do I need to go to the hospital? Do I need to call somebody urgently? Or can I call you and you can triage that? They should know how to get a hold of you. Every patient should have your contact information. It should be all over social media. It should be blasted out via email list. Hey, we are taking people on a case-by-case basis. Some things to think about. More importantly, if in doubt, pick the phone up. Here's how to get a hold of us. We can talk you through this. We can talk you down from this. We can recognize it is serious. Communication is everything to help unlock our resources in this challenging time. I think the biggest resource that we have is telehealth. I'm watching the massive growth of that in turning towards that resource, and I'm thrilled to see it because how fortunate it can be there for us in this time of need. Most populations, if we're willing to embrace this new way of going about it in a time of significant need, most populations can get most of what they need via telehealth. Is it a perfect solution? Of course not. Of course not. It is an imperfect solution for imperfect times, right? But most folks can get a huge amount of what they need. I've been doing it for a while now, and a few things I'll say about it. The evaluations are often better because dive so deep into that subjective exam, which we know carries so much of the value. People are heard in a way they've never been heard before because you're not rushing to get to the physical exam because that's going to be so limited. So our ability to form that alliance, people to really be heard out, to give you their whole history, go into their programming, we are able to dive so much deeper. I found myself walking away from a lot of my telehealth evals saying, you know what, if I'm being fully honest, a lot of the things I would have done with the person during the physical exam, which often carries psychometrics so challenged, right, was really by avoiding that, allowed me to go to a level of depth I don't think I would have gotten to with an in-person exam. So there are some real benefits there, right? And so think about all the folks that can be helped with this medium. I can tell you from experience, one of the great ones is chronic pain. Think of what we really chronic pain that carries so much value, right? T&E, educating these folks. Telehealth is a wonderful medium. Graded exposure, graded exercise, all concepts and things that can be carried out through a virtual very effectively. I mean, somebody with legitimate, centrally dominant presentations who's ramped up, their solution does not lie in you stretching their hip flexors. Their solution lies in you helping them to understand that their nervous system is on high alert. That we need to use strategies to calm down the nervous system. Those things are beautifully executed. They're comfortable in their home, in private, and you've got all the time in the world we have in these dialogues. That is beautifully targeted through the virtual medium, right? Think about barbell athletes and our ability to look at their videos, to look at their programming, to write them programming. wonderfully done with virtual mediums. Look at treating runners, right? Chris Johnson, if you did not see that, Chris, thank you, just released a massive resource free to all of you during this time, a performance battery testing, right, for runners specifically that you can leverage through a telehealth medium. My point is, there are so many more people that we can bring tremendous value to if we're willing to switch over, in every single one of them we are keeping out of harm's way by keeping them in the safety of their own homes. Let's for sure leverage that to our maximum capacity. One quick thing to say about that, Sarah Heron, who does an unbelievable job with what really seems like everything, right, did a really nice piece in the Out of Network group where she talked about, as opposed to, having a really long, drawn out conversation with your patient, just let them know what's going on. Due to the obvious reasons, we don't want you to have to come in here in person to expose me, to expose others, to be exposed. Due to all of those factors, we're going to switch you over to a telehealth appointment. Here's the link. You're gonna click on this at the same time we would have had our appointment. You're going to be in the meeting room. I'll pull you in, and we're going to provide a tremendous amount of value. The vast majority of people are going to say that. What we're seeing around the country is those who are presenting it in that way are having a lot of success in people taking them up on those appointments. No, not everyone's going to do it. We're going to get a lot of people, and that's the goal: is how much good can we do leveraging these innovative techniques. So think about how you're going about communicating that with your patients to maximize how many of them you can hang on to, can continue communicating, right? Keep them out of harm's way, but still deliver value. Folks, those are my thoughts on it. And I hope that lets you know that I think it's a hard position, right? I hope that we give each other grace. There's a lot of emotions flying around right now. It's tough. I do know that ultimately actions speak louder than words. I can tell you from our end that we have canceled everything from ICE for a 30-month period, right? So from the way we're handling our companies is we've shut down all live interaction. Again, I can't tell you how much I believe the value in what we teach. I don't think we have to teach it right now. So we're on a full hold for 30 days and willing to extend that if needed. The physical therapy clinic that I'm affiliated with, many of you know I'm a partner in Onward Physical Therapy. Our Onward Charlotte clinic is closed, right, 100%. We've looked at the risk-benefit ratio. We believe that we can do a ton with other mediums, and we believe that we can take the financial hit to absorb the rest. Ultimately, that's our best decision. So as we analyze our case, I always want to let you know, greater than talk. That's moving forward. Final thoughts. It's time, right? But I want to say you've got to look for what your pull is. I think one of the biggest things you're going to get from this, you're going to learn a lot about your leadership team, wherever you are, right? Clinic, whether for us, we have a continuing education company, whatever it is, you're going to learn a ton about your leadership team. Now, I want to encourage you, though, I hope that you don't look at it binary. I know it's easy to say, well, they made this decision, they're good. They made this decision, they're bad. I hope you look deeper than that, because there's so much on the bones. What you really want to look at is how and why did your leadership team make their decision? Was it intentional, right? Did they tackle the challenging questions? Who communicated the results of their decision, and how did they communicate that? Did they embrace the challenging gray? Were they willing to reevaluate with emerging data? Was there intentionality, and were they willing to embrace the suck that is making really hard decisions that have financial implications, and communicate that with the team? There is no hard right and wrong in this challenging time, but there is a right and wrong way to go about leadership. And I think you're going to see adversity reveals a lot in a hurry. One thing about adversity is it reveals a lot in a hurry. And one benefit for you, especially as a younger individual or employee, is you're about to get a tremendous amount of information about the team that you're on. And that is invaluable, that you're going to get that much data mining to guide what teams you want to be on going forward, contributing to, whether your philosophies are online. That is invaluable information. Think about that. The very final thing I'll say is that actual moments of leadership and bravery never look into. They never fit the Instagram quotes, right? The consistency among them is that they demand what you really don't want to do, right? That is the consistency among moments that really call you to be your best. Right now, it's not brave for somebody who's healthy and in their 20s and 30s to be out in society working hard. You personally have very little risk of getting seriously sick or dying. Bravery right now is holding yourself back and watching your bank account dwindle, doing the math every day and that's the hardest thing to do. And that's what a lot of us, to one level or another, are being charged to do. Those of you who are taking that on, I just want you to know I respect the daylights out of that. I also want to say that everybody is making a hard decision right now. Communicate well. Find a lot out about yourself and your team, but realize this will be over. This too shall pass. Take good from it. Embrace the suck, and let's come out of this better than ever. Team, I hope there was some value in the conversation. I know it was long, but certainly time was something I had. Hang in there. Reach out if you need anything. Right, we're here for it. We'll see you on Leadership Thursday.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.